3 months after we buried my mother, 92 days, my father stood at an altar, and the woman beside him was her sister. My name is Grace. And this is the story of how my mother fought the quietest, most devastating battle of her life. A battle none of us even knew she was fighting. A battle she won after she was already gone. We had been called over for dinner. That's how Dad framed it. Just dinner. When we walked in, Mum's coat was still hanging by the door. Her reading glasses sat on the side table like she had just stepped out. And my Aunt Victoria was sitting on the couch, knees pressed together, eyes red, not freshly red, but the kind that come from days of deciding. My father cleared his throat. I want to be honest with you both. I don't want secrets. Victoria reached for his hand. He let her. The room stayed still. I didn't. Something in me went cold. I found someone, he said, and I didn't expect it. I wasn't looking for it. Daniel frowned. I watched him watching our father, and I thought, he already knows. He already knows what's coming, and he can't believe it either. Dad swallowed. Victoria and we're together. I waited for the rest of the sentence, the part where I had misunderstood him, the part where this became something else. It never came. The weeks that followed were the strangest of my life, and I had just spent 2.5 years watching my mother die, so that is saying something. Everything moved quietly, too quietly. No announcement, no engagement party, just appointments, paperwork, and whispered conversations that stopped the second I walked into a room. I told myself it was grief. I had read about it, how loss can make people reach desperately for any warmth, any anchor. I gave my father that grace. I gave Victoria that grace too, even though something in me tightened every time she laughed too loudly in my mother's kitchen. Then one afternoon, I was helping clear out a cupboard Victoria had asked, and I didn't know how to say no when I found a photograph. Old, edges, soft. My father and Victoria at what looked like a resort, just the two of them, laughing, relaxed, the way people look when they've been comfortable with each other for a long time. I stared at it for a long time. I turned it over. No date. I asked myself, when was this taken? Before Mum got sick? After? Did it mean something? I put it back in the cupboard, face down. I told myself it was old. I told myself families take trips together. I told myself I was grief-sick and seeing monsters in shadows. I was very good at talking myself out of what was right in front of me. Victoria tried to include me in the wedding planning. Flowers, venue, guest list. I said no to all of it. My father pulled me aside one evening. You're okay with this, right? I hesitated. Then I nodded. If you're happy, that's what matters. His shoulders dropped in relief, like I had just absolved him of something. I didn't sleep that night. Daniel had mostly stopped coming by at that point. I told myself he was angry. I didn't realize he was paying closer attention than I was. The wedding venue visit happened without me. But I went to collect Victoria from there one afternoon. She had asked me to drive her, and while she was speaking to the event coordinator, her handbag slipped off the bench and fell open. Her phone skidded across the floor, screen still lit. A photo of a little boy, maybe 4 or 5, sitting on a swing. He was laughing, dark eyes, a dimple in his left cheek. I picked the phone up and handed it back before Victoria turned around. Thank you, she said, slipping it into her bag without looking at me. I drove home with both hands tight on the wheel, and one thought I couldn't shake. I had seen that face before. I just wasn't ready to admit where. And the strangest part was that no one ever asked the questions I was too afraid to say. The wedding invitation arrived 6 weeks later. Small ceremony, close family only, My mother's name appeared nowhere. No acknowledgement of how little time had passed. No moment of silence, no mention, no empty chair. On the morning of the wedding, I stood in front of the mirror and gave myself a speech. I told myself I was going because she was my mother's sister and because my mother would have wanted peace. I told myself I was being the bigger person. I told myself walking away would only hurt me more. Every word of it was a lie I needed to believe. When I arrived, the hall was already warm, with people and soft music and the smell of fresh flowers. My father was near the entrance in a grey suit, laughing with a relative I barely recognised. He looked happy, genuinely, completely happy. And for one terrible moment, one I am not proud of, I thought, maybe he deserves this. Maybe grief makes people strange. And he found something real. And who am I to take that from him? And then I saw the front row. The little boy from the photograph was sitting there in a small suit, feet barely touching the floor, dark eyes, a dimple in his left cheek. He looked so much like my father that for a second I couldn't breathe. I pressed my hand to my mouth and walked quickly to the corner of the room, trying to steady myself. I was still standing there when the ceremony ended. I was still standing there when the music shifted and champagne glasses began clinking, and then Daniel walked through the door. He was late. His jacket was half on. His eyes were wild in a way I had never seen from my calm, even-tempered brother, not even during the worst nights of Mom's illness. He grabbed my arm. "Grace, we need to talk, right now. Daniel, the ceremony it's already over. Come with me, now." I followed him through the crowd. He didn't stop until we were near the back corridor, half hidden behind a row of coat racks and tall plants. "A lawyer had been trying to reach me for 2 days," he said, voice low and tight. "I finally called back this morning. At first I thought it was spam." "What kind of lawyer?" "He knew Mom's name, knew her illness, knew the exact date she died." Daniel reached into his jacket. "He said Mom left instructions. If Dad remarried, he was to contact me. If Dad married Victoria, he was to contact me immediately." I felt a cold line crawl slowly down my spine. Daniel pulled out an envelope, thick, cream-coloured, sealed with familiar handwriting across the front. My name and Daniel's, in our mother's hand. "What's in it?" "What Mom found out," he said quietly. "And I was warned not to come here unless I was ready for what came next." He looked at me. I came anyway. We found a small side room. Empty chairs, a coat rack, a window cracked open for air. Daniel closed the door behind us. "Promise me something," he said. "What?" "Don't interrupt. Not until I finish." He broke the seal. The paper inside was folded into neat thirds. Her handwriting was careful. She must have written it on one of the good days, one of the days when the pain retreated enough to let her sit upright. Daniel cleared his throat. He began to read. "My sweet children, if you are reading this, it means I was right about what I feared. It also means I didn't live long enough to protect you myself." I pressed my hand to my mouth. "I didn't tell you while I was still alive because I didn't want my last months to become a fight. I was already tired. I was already in pain. I wanted my final days to be about love, not betrayal. So I chose silence. But I could not choose ignorance. And I could not leave you unprotected." My hands had begun to shake. I found out by accident. Messages I was not supposed to see. Dates that didn't line up. Money that moved quietly, carefully, as though someone believed I would never notice. At first, I convinced myself I was wrong. That fear was playing tricks on a sick mind. Daniel paused. His voice had tightened. He took a breath and continued. "But the truth doesn't disappear just because you are too weak to face it. The door handle moved. Daniel's head snapped up. He slid the letter back into the envelope in one smooth motion. I straightened in my chair. We both looked at the door. My father leaned in, half his face in shadow. "Grace, everything okay?" I looked at him. I looked at his face, the face I had known my whole life, and said, with a steadiness that surprised me, "We're fine, Dad. Give us a few minutes." He searched my eyes. I gave him nothing. The door closed. Daniel waited 5 full seconds. Then he opened the letter again. "It wasn't a stranger," he read. "It was my own sister." The room went very quiet. I gave him one chance to be honest. I asked him calmly. I wanted to believe there was an explanation I could live with. He told me I was imagining things, that my illness made me suspicious, that I should rest. I felt something tear open in the center of my chest. I believed him. Because when you love someone for decades, you learn to doubt yourself before you doubt them. But I kept watching, quietly, and that is when I understood something worse. Daniel's voice dropped to almost nothing. The child everyone believes belongs to another man is his. "No," I said out loud, before I even realized I was speaking. Daniel raised a hand and kept reading. Once I knew that, everything made sense. Why he stayed, why he never left, why he played the role of devoted husband while living a second life beside me. It wasn't love that kept him here. It was safety, what he would lose if he walked away. She believed they were waiting, Daniel said quietly. Waiting for her to die, waiting to be together openly, waiting to inherit what she built. He lowered the letter. "But she didn't expose them," he said. "She planned." "What do you mean?" "She changed everything she legally could. Quietly, properly. Her solicitor filed it months ago." I stared at him. "Dad gets nothing that was hers to protect. Neither does Victoria. The house, the accounts in her name, the investments, all of it comes to us. It's already done. It has been for months." A sound came out of me. Not a laugh, not a cry, something between. I remember thinking, she knew. She knew all of it. And she still spent her last strength taking care of us. "So this wedding," I whispered. "This whole thing, they think they've won." Daniel folded the letter one last time. "They have no idea," he said. "Not yet." He looked at me. "What do we do?" I picked up the envelope. I held the weight of it in my hands, my mother's handwriting across the front. I thought about her asking me if I had eaten, even at the end, even when every breath cost her something. "We go back in," I said. Before I continue, if you are new here, welcome to Life Stories with the Innocent. This is a channel where we tell the stories that don't get told loudly. Stories of quiet strength, hidden pain, and the kind of justice that doesn't always make the news, but always finds its way. If that sounds like something you need in your life, please subscribe. And if this story moves you the way it moved me, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Now, let me take you back. The music was still playing when we walked back into the reception. Champagne. Laughter. Someone had lit sparklers near the entrance, and they were burning gold and white in the dim light. My father saw us immediately. He crossed the room with the same smile he had been giving everyone all evening, easy, relieved, almost triumphant. "There you are." I was starting to worry. He touched my arm. "Come on, they're about to cut the cake." "We need to talk," I said. His smile held for 1 second too long. "Can it wait? Just 10 minutes?" "No." People nearby went quiet in that way. People do when the air changes, when they sense something real happening in the middle of something rehearsed. Victoria appeared at his shoulder. She saw our faces and her own went still. "Mom knew," I said, "about everything." My father's smile faltered. "Knew what?" I held up the envelope. She knew about you and Victoria. She knew about the child. And she knew why you stayed. Victoria whispered his name and reached for his arm. Dad gave a short laugh. Grace, you're upset. Both of you are. Whatever you think you found, she changed the will, Daniel said. The laugh stopped. Everything goes to us, I said. The house, the accounts in her name, the investments. Her solicitor filed it months ago. It is done. My father's face drained of colour. Not gradually, all at once. That's not possible, he said. It is, I replied. It's already done. Victoria stepped back from him. One step, then another. You told me this wouldn't happen, she said quietly. He said nothing. Daniel and I left without saying goodbye. We walked past the sparklers and the champagne and the soft music and the guests who were beginning to understand that something had cracked open at the centre of the celebration. We walked to the car. We sat in the dark for a long time without speaking. Then Daniel said, She planned all of this while she was dying. Yes, I said. While she was in pain, while she was asking us if we had eaten, while she was reminding Dad about his blood pressure pills. His voice thickened. She was building something to protect us. She was, I said. We sat there until most of the parking lot had emptied. In the months that followed, Victoria left my father. It turned out love fades quickly when there is nothing left to inherit. The child, my half-brother, whether any of us was ready for that or not, was never going to be his legacy anyway. My mother had made sure of that. My father reached out twice. I did not respond. Maybe one day I will, not yet. What I know is this. My mother spent her final months in pain, in fear, in a house full of people who were waiting for her to disappear. And instead of spending her last days in war, she planned. She protected us. She didn't fight while she was dying. She made sure we would be safe after she was gone. And when the truth finally came out, everything she had built was still standing. It was ours. My mother never got to see any of this. She never got to watch them realize what she had done. She never got the satisfaction of that moment in the car park, sitting with her children in the quiet. But she built it anyway. Every single piece of it from a hospital bed in pain while we held her hand and thought we were the ones taking care of her. She was always the one taking care of us. If this story stayed with you, if it reminded you of someone strong, someone quiet, someone who protected you in ways you're still discovering, leave a comment below. I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed to Life Stories with the Innocent yet, please do. Every week we bring you stories like this one. Stories of ordinary people who faced extraordinary pain and found a way through it with their dignity intact. Until next time, take care of the people you love and remember, some battles are won in silence.
Life Story with the Innocent. Story just for you. Ancient wisdom for modern life.
The morning we buried my mother, I made myself a promise. I would remember her exactly as she was. Not the version cancer left behind at the end paper thin, too weak to lift her arms for long. The real her. The woman who, 3 days before she died, still asked if I had eaten. Still asked my brother Daniel if he was paying his bills on time. Still reminded my father to take his blood pressure medication. Even dying, she was the one holding us together. Hold that image in your mind. Because what happened still doesn't feel real to me, no matter how many times I replay it.